And we're giving it a shot one more time. Right back at you here from the Oro once again. Apologies for the issues that are going on with our live streaming here, as only technology, of course, coming right back at you. Fast Pop Culture Cosmos. Joe Soro is back here. Joe, can you hear me now, my friend?
Oh, clear. Whoa.
Yep. Something's going on with Talk Studio. Maybe Talk Studio's not icy with the internet, so we're gonna have to figure out. But your thoughts today,
Gerald? It's your internet too. Your picture's not clear, and it's not as bad cutting out. Yeah.
Your thoughts now. I should have, at least for you, a clear say. Anthony Davis should start for Team USA.
Sorry,
no,
G.
You want him to play.
Can't hear you, bud. Hey. Go ahead and do the show.
I think you're messing with me now. I think you're messing with me.
I'm not messing with you. Go ahead and do the show.
I think
let me get off, and then let's see what happens.
Yeah, I'm back. So this is not sounding pretty. Yeah, yo, what's up? Rob Lowe is messing with Gerald's Wi-Fi again. Yeah, seemingly I have. That's the case. He could be messing with it far. Again, it is Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much again for watching, listening. Truly appreciate it. This is not working out the way I want to. Of course, something's gone completely wrong in the past couple of days as far as our feed is concerned. Yeah, I'm recording with a potato. This is the same potato I've been using now for the past month, JSJ. So, again, it is Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much, Link. Joe, get in here, man. You get in here. They want to talk to you. I'll figure this out on my end. You get in here, man. Get back in here, and I'll let you take over. So, you come back here. You share your thoughts on AD. AD again with a poor performance of 17. No, not using dial-up, unfortunately. Using 2024 technology. So, Joe, are you out there? Is that a Celtics logo on my wrist? What does this say? What does this say, L7? You're blind. Yes, it says Lakers. Read it and weep, L7. Read it and weep. So, how dare you say that? That's disgusting, and I should ban you for that. So, there you go. All right, Joe, you go ahead. You start talking, man. Go ahead.
All right, cool. All right, folks, let's try this again. So, I think Gerald asked me what I thought about Anthony Davis. I think that's what he asked me. So, Anthony Davis was the best player today. I saw briefly what was going on. I didn't see a lot going on. Again, guys, my career is starting to go in certain places where I can't just get in front of a TV. And, of course, being on the road, it's hard to watch on the phone. But the Olympic team looked pretty good in terms of certain guys. Not enough for me to feel comfortable yet, but it is an exhibition game. They did win tonight. I think it was 98 or tonight, whatever it is over there, by a few points. I think it was 98-92. Going from that to the Summer League game. So, hey, what's up, cool bro? How you doing? So, Dalton Connect, in case you guys didn't hear me the first time, he's the only NBA player on this roster, folks. I'm not seeing a lot of coaching from Dane Johnson. I'm not seeing really any good players at all. This actually might be the worst Summer League team I've seen in the last 7-8 years. I know Summer League is Summer League, but there was some positiveness in Summer League as it's gotten popular the last 7-8 years. But this is by far the worst roster I've seen. If Dalton Connect wasn't on this team, it would be unbearable. I don't even know if these guys would score 40 points in an entire fourth quarter game. So if you guys, I don't know, if you guys saw something I didn't know, I didn't see, I'd love to hear about it. This was, believe it or not, Bronny's worst Summer League game, and that's putting it against other worst summer league games. I don't know what the hell this guy is going to do when he starts playing with pros. Folks, there are high school players, there are college players, there are pro players, and then you start getting into the summer league, and then you start getting into the real league. I mean, you're talking, how the hell is this kid going to play against real time, real basketball? He's not. The second he gets on the court, it better be garbage time. Otherwise, this thing is going to go south fast, and that's going to be the drama from that. And I'll just leave it at that. $7,000. Great question. It's a question that we've talked about here a few times. Number one, Max Christie is not. I'd say he is an NBA player if he's not playing regularly. So if he's on an 11, if he's an 11 or 12th man on a team, I'd say he's got that spot. Paying him $32 million, probably one of the dumbest contracts I've seen. Probably since the Luke Walton signing back in the 2000s. I don't know why they paid him $8 million. He has not been good in 2 years, and the reward and the fact that they were dealing with the second apron, and then they paid this guy $8 million a year. They couldn't have paid him $5 million. They couldn't have given him a $20 million contract. You don't think he would have taken it? Why $8 million? What do you actually think this guy's going to do? Did JJ Redick sit with Rob Pelinka and say, "This guy, I'm going to make him into a star. This guy, I'm going to make him into a rotational player"? Because that's how it had to have gone. Otherwise, I don't see any reason to do this. So I'll leave it at that. We're going to see what's going on. We'll see if JJ Redick has some genius method to get this guy to play better, and we'll wait on that. Max versus Cam. Who you got? Are you talking about Cam Whitmore or Cam Reddish? These days, you don't know. You're talking about Cam Reddish, right? Well, I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know what either one does well consistently. Cam Reddish has his moments where he plays good defense, but he doesn't really play good offense. Max doesn't really do either or. I don't know really what he does well all the time. So I'd say that's a draw. That's a draw at this point. I wouldn't say he's a scam bloodhound. I'd say he's just who he is, guys. He was a high prospect coming out of college who just can't play in the NBA. That's as easy as I can put it. Lakers should be taking notes since AD looks comfortable with Bam. Yeah, well, we all know that. We all know that, Jay. And the Lakers did nothing to get help for AD. The one guy that actually does play on both sides of the court, they've helped in no way, at least as of right now. And it's very, very frustrating for Lakers fans, as well as I'm sure in secret with Anthony Davis. Not just to move him from center to power forward. It's just not have anxiety when he does sit, where you don't have any chance of guarding anybody or protecting the rim. That's the problem. And I don't know who they would trade for. I don't know what center they would trade for. Who's going to give them a center without the Lakers having to give them a first round pick? See, I don't know anyone that's not going to. I don't know anyone that's going to give a viable center or big in general without, and him being, good without getting draft picks. It's just the Lakers can't afford to give up any draft picks unless it's a next level type guy. And I don't see anybody out there that would do that. At least not enough draft picks that the Lakers have. AD looks happy with Bam. Well, we've talked about if the Lakers were to rebuild, who would be the first call to the Lakers if AD was put on the table? And I think for sure it's either going to be Oklahoma City, but number one, I'd say Miami. I think Miami would be the first to call. And they'd want to keep Bam, but the first thing I'd say is you got to give us draft picks and Bam. The only problem is Miami doesn't have any draft picks either. So I don't know. And of course, anybody that's really good that you can play next to, especially with that skill set, is going to make you happy. But I don't see it happening, unfortunately. So Bronny has 17 points in 4 games. Yeah, I think he had 2 tonight. I think that's all he had. Spurs would want him. Yeah, but you all know you're not doing a deal with the Spurs. Why didn't the Lakers get Drew Holiday? That's a good question, Darren. I don't think Rob Pelinka is capable of making those kind of deals. That was one of the best deals I'd seen made during the regular season. I'd say that was the equivalent in a lot of ways of Clyde Drexler getting picked up in '95 before the Houston Rockets won a championship. That's how big that acquisition was. If the Lakers had won in '08, Paul Gasol's transaction would have likely taken the first spot. But looking at, well, you could also say Rasheed Wallace in '04. So Rasheed Wallace in '04, Clyde Drexler in '95, and then Drew Holiday in this year. I'd say those are the top 3 since I've been watching basketball that had the ultimate impact in terms of mid-season trades. I'd say Drew Holiday is probably 3rd on that list. I think number 1 would be Rasheed Wallace, and then Clyde Drexler, because the Houston Rockets had won a championship in '94. Did they need to make that trade? Probably, but they still had a championship team. Whereas Detroit doesn't likely beat the Lakers in '04 without getting Rasheed Wallace. And I actually think that if the Celtics hadn't gotten Drew Holiday, I don't think they would have. I don't think they would have won the title. His intangibles were absolutely game changing. It was essentially like getting Marcus Smart with a jump shot, and also clutch plays. Marcus Smart is a good player, great defender, but missed shots when they needed it and didn't make the right plays at the right time. And Drew Holiday did that. The Dictator, thank you very much. The Dictator. Is that the movie, The Dictator? What did I miss, guys? Cool, bro. We're winning the title if we draft someone else at 55. I'm blaming Steve Kerr if they don't win. That's funny. Meanwhile, spending millions fostering, which sucks. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with this Wendell Carter Jr. thing. What the hell's Wendell Carter going to do to change things for us? We need even to get Kessler, Darren. We're going to have to give Danny Ainge half our draft picks ever. So I don't think that's ever going to happen. Unless there's some kind of 4-team trade where you can get his draft picks and the Lakers get Kessler and the Lakers can dump some trash somewhere. But I don't think anybody wants the Lakers trash. It is a sad roster, Eric, and it's going to stay sad. There's going to need to be a miracle. There's going to need to be a miracle in that J.J. Redick can motivate these guys to play better than they are, and there needs to be no injuries. I don't know if that's possible. And I don't know if J.J. Redick has that kind of magic, if you will, to create that. Again, talent is talent. When you're not talented enough or don't have enough talent, that's gonna determine how good you're gonna coach. Coach in a lot of ways is as good as his players, and don't forget that there are coaches out there that do make things worse. We had one the last couple of years in Darvin Ham, and we're gonna have to wait and see what JJ Redick has up his sleeve to see if he actually does have something that might benefit the Lakers, even with the same roster. Well, Bronny is the most unqualified player in NBA history. Ooh. I don't know if I can possibly know that, but I can say that it's by far the most manipulated draft pick that I've ever seen. I have never seen a legacy pick like this. You usually have to have talent. And you've had a lot of guys that have come from NBA player lineage. You had Gary Payton Jr., you had the Hardaway Juniors, and you had Curry is one, is Curry's brother, and all that. But those guys are talented, folks. Those guys belonged in the NBA. They showed that they belong in the NBA. And there's nothing that LeBron James Jr. has shown that he belongs in the NBA. And what made it worse is that he was the centerpiece of his draft for when your team needed talent. And that's where the gripe is on my part. But the Lakers are they're gonna get smacked in the face on that one, and they'll get what they deserve from that. Douglas Mikes, only the Democrats are having a worse summer than the Lakers. See, Douglas, now Gerald's not here. Not that I'm happy that he's not here, but you can throw in a couple of political jabs in there. I'm not sensitive to it. Gerald is. I'm not. To use that comparison, I'd say a few days ago was the kill shot. And we'll have to see if it's official in November. And I'll leave it at that. Douglas, we got Connect at 17. Yes, thank God we got Connect at 17. That's the only bright spot this offseason. The Warriors just want to give up Wiggins and second round picks. I can't blame them, $7,000. I have never been a Wiggins fan. I've never been a Wiggins fan. And it's worse with him. It's not Ben Simmons level, but he is the guy that has done just enough to be where he is, and that's it. Immense talent, immense athleticism, but just no drive to be great, no drive to be that guy. And he's just kind of been bland. And it's unfortunate because he should have been a great one. That's how good he is physically and athletically. But anyways, let's see here. Mark Aguirre for Adrian Dantley was a good trade. You know what? I forgot about that one, Easy. That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah. Yeah, that trade might actually fit in the top two. Because the Pistons that year were sliding. And Mark Aguirre did something that no one thought he would do that year. And that was sit back and do what the team needed. Because Mark Aguirre was a star. Mark Aguirre was the first pick from DePaul in the same draft that Isaiah was in. So you Detroit in 1989 had the first and second pick in the 81 draft playing together. And what set that team off was Mark Aguirre understanding the role he needed to play. He was the one that suggested to Chuck Daly that Dennis Rodman needs to start. And when he did that, very similar to Manu Ginobili saying, let me come off the bench, Lamar Odom coming off the bench instead of being a starter, those little things sometimes can catapult your team, man. It changes your whole dynamic. Think about it. Having to deal with a star coming off the bench, how are you going to combat that with your second team? The answer is you can't. You can't. No one can combat Manu Ginobili as far as a second unit. So it was the Spurs never had a star relentlessly hitting them for 48 minutes. Mark Aguirre, same situation in Detroit. Lamar Odom went to the bench. Paul Gasol started at power forward. Andrew Bynum would start the games. Second unit would come in. Elo would do his thing, right? Won Sixth Man of the Year. And then towards the end of games, that's when they kept those guys in. And, you all saw the results of those. So, again, thanks, Easy. That was a great memory on that one. I had forgotten about that one. Paul Gasol trade led to 2 rings and 3 finals. Yes, the Paul Gasol trade I've actually picked as the best Laker trade of all time in terms of its context. Most will say, no, it's Kareem. Most would say, oh, no, it's Kobe Bryant. Well, at the time and the effect, it's a little different for me. So Kareem got traded to LA in 1975. I guess you could say that was the best trade for sure, because you got a prime Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but that didn't produce results for a while. Kobe Bryant trade, no one knew if this kid was going to be what he was going to be. No one knew. Only Jerry West knew. And then fast forward to Pau Gasol. Pau Gasol was that guy that we knew immediately would be an impact to the point where the Lakers were a juggernaut for 3 straight seasons, or I should say 2.5 seasons, where they were just the best team in the NBA. They did lose in 2008, but I believe they lost due to just one lull. And if they hadn't had that lull in game 4 when they were up 20, I believe they would have three-peated. And, that's how sports are sometimes. But I thought the impact and the legacy-saving aspect of that trade in terms of Kobe Bryant, I don't know if there's a better trade, at least for me, in terms of the Laker history. Let's see here. Danny, ain't is more like it. Am I right? I don't know about that. Teams except the Utah Jazz. We don't. Wait, why is Skip Bayless a hack? Because he's made a career out of saying stupid stuff like LeBron is not that good. Now, LeBron's a lot of things. But to say he's not that good, he's not Jordan, he's not that. We all know that he's not Jordan. But to denigrate the guy for an entire, he denigrates LeBron because he knows he gets the clicks. And this is not coming from me. This is people that have been in and around Skip Bayless. He actually looks for the negative comments before he looks at the positive comments. That's how he created his career. If you want to really know who Skip Bayless is, ask Troy Aikman and you'll get an answer. And if you don't see Troy Aikman with your own eyes and able to ask him personally, just go online, put Troy Aikman, Skip Bayless, and you'll see why. Joe, where would you rank the D'Lo for Westbrook trade? D'Lo for Westbrook trade? Oh, last year? No comment. Sorry, Jay. I don't know how to have an answer to that one. Let's see. Ask yourself this: do you think the Lakers management even care about winning championship? Because it seems they just want more attention for this effing father-son thing. Yeah, they probably know they can't win, so might as well play up the reality stuff. And they're probably in denial. They're probably it's tiring to sit here and talk about what this team is actually thinking. I just don't think they're thinking at all. I don't think they're capable of being about what they need to get done. They don't have it. And all you had to do was listen to the press conference for the introduction of JJ Redick, and you'd see how a coward in a high position is. And that is Rob Pelinka starting a press conference about a new coach saying how difficult it is in this scope, this time in the NBA, and how hard it is to get transactions. That I didn't see Brad Stevens say anything like that. I didn't see Tim Donnelly do anything like that. I didn't see Sam Presti saying anything like that. Why is this chump saying this? Well, he's saying it because he's trying to set the stage for his failure. And it's so easy to spot these guys. It's so easy to spot a do-nothing coward. You just got to just let them talk and bury themselves. And that's what Rob did. JJ actually has a quality staff, unlike Ham. Well, you all know how I feel about assistant coaches. Do I think Scott Brooks and Nate McMillan will help? I don't know. You still have to have talent. And the Lakers right now don't really have that much of a difference in talent. They're banking on Vanderbilt staying healthy, which he hasn't been able to stay healthy ever in his career. Gabe Vincent shooting well. Folks, even if Gabe Vincent is healthy, he can't effing shoot. So if he's just going to be a defensive player, well, he'll get exploited by any good offense either way. And if you can't shoot to compromise or to complement that, then how are you going to benefit the team? Gabe Vincent isn't that good to where that makes sense. And then you have to cross your fingers that AD and LeBron won't get hurt for long stretches this year. Because I guarantee you right now, folks, if AD or LeBron come up lame and miss 15 games due to an injury, this team will not make the playoffs. And you could put that in the bank. So you better hope they don't. So imagine if LeBron had gotten hurt for 10 games last year. Heck, let's say he'd gotten injured in 6 games. You think the Lakers wouldn't make it to the playoffs? Or the play-in? I don't think so. If you hate LeBron, the best move is make no first-round trades and ride out this year. Yeah, they're in that position now. $7,000. They're in that position now. They're gonna go for it with the same thing. And our esteemed colleague Stone Hansen believes that this might be his last year. I'm having a hard time believing that because I don't know if he's gonna say no to another 50 mil for 25, 26. I'd have to see that. Are things gonna have to get so bad where the Lakers win 30 games this coming year, and then he's like, you know what, it's not worth playing another year, I'm out. That's going to be an interesting question. We're going to have to see how that happens. My cynical, jaded self in this particular scenario, I think he rides out those 2 years. And if he goes more than that, it'll depend on how healthy he is and if the Lakers are competing for a championship. But I don't see them competing for a championship either way. Not until he's gone. And I would like to keep AD and build around him, but I don't know if that's going to be possible. We're going to have to wait and see how that develops. LeBron makes them too much moolah. Well, folks, guys, you don't need LeBron to make a lot of money in LA. I don't know where that comes from. Okay, I really don't know. The Lakers are always going to make money. And are they about championships or making money with LeBron? What does that even mean? If you need, that's what the Cardinals used to do back in the day in the NFL. They used to go get a rotting corpse at the end of his career, Emmitt Smith. They go get J.J. Watt at the end of his career. They just get a name so that they can sell tickets, right? This is the LA Lakers. We win championships. We don't hang on to guys that can't do anything for you so that you can make money off them. If that's the case, then y'all got to stop going to the games. Seriously. Stop going to the games. I don't know if it'll matter, but stop buying the gear. Stop going to the games. Gerald, are you still around? Where are you?
Here, Joe, but go ahead. Keep talking.
I saw you deleted somebody.
Did I?
Did you put Douglas in timeout?
I don't know. Did I?
I don't know. I saw that he was. Let's see here. Where was it? Somebody put Douglas on timeout. I don't know why. Okay, and realistic question: is anyone buying those 9 jerseys, Chip? I mean, Joe. That's a good one. Apparently so. You saw the crowd in the last Summer League game. It was apparently really full. And I guess they are. We're going to have to wait and see what happens. I got to see it. Like, who's buying this kid's jersey? He's going to be here for 3 years, right? I don't know. I haven't seen anybody wearing his jersey yet, except maybe his mom. They sold out between Kobe and LeBron. They had the Spectrum deal, and NBA paid them the network money. You know who's not happy about the new deal? Dolan, out of New York. Which goes to show you guys that a guy that successful, a guy that in the know with how to do business, see, I told you guys we know what we're talking about. That deal was terrible. I don't know what the hell they were thinking saying yes to that deal. That deal was just garbage. I do like the NBA coming back to NBC, but not at this expense. Just the whole apron 1 and 2 and how they decided to put that together that was a terrible, terrible deal. And if they were going to do that, they should have just made a hard cap and let this thing just work itself out. But just stupid. People make things so much more complicated than they have to. They don't have to do this. Make it easy. You're supposed to make things easy, not harder the older you get. Or if you're doing something for a long time, speed and efficiency needs to meet at some point. But the NBA wants to do this apron 1, apron 2 BS. For what reason? Just make it a damn hard cap so we know what you can trade right off the bat, not have to worry about all these scenarios. Well, if you go over this number, you can't trade here. And if you can't trade here, you can only get one MLE that's worth 12.8 million. But if you pass this little apron, then it goes down to 5.5. And then you got to do this. Then you got to do jumping jacks before you can actually say, you know what, we want to do it. Oh, then we'll take your draft picks away if you don't do it. Like, really, guys, come on. Really? You're going to take away? It's like demerits. It's like detention. You do this and we're taking away your draft picks. Really? Really? This is what the owners agreed to? I know the players are going to agree to anything because they're schleppers. But they all go broke after 5 years. They want more money, more money, more money. They don't care about systems. Oh, but they will complain later. They will complain later when they don't get what they want. That's how stupid they are. So they'll sit there. Don't be surprised when this happens. 2-3 years from now, when only the top 4 guys on every team are making all the money and everybody else is making a couple mil, watch what those chumps are going to say. This team, no one's paying it. No, they're disrespecting me. They're disrespecting me. I'm like, dude, you're disrespected yourself. Your union disrespected all of you by minimizing your worth. How many Supermax players are out there? They're going to come. And a lot of these guys are going to be making that money that do not deserve it. Now, when I say deserve, as in you're really going to pay let's say an all-star player, the Supermax, there's only a few people that deserve a Supermax in the NBA at any time. You got to give it to the number 1, number 2, number 3 guys like Jokic, guys that really are MVPs, the MVPs, the guys that shift their franchise. You take them out and their franchise is toast. Those are the guys that should be getting that money, not secondary all-star types. And we unfortunately as fans, we're going to be the ones that end up not getting what normal stuff goes on usually in these situations. Anobi's a mediocre player making that's a good point there, $7,000. So you have a lot of guys making 200. What was it? Franz Wagner making 200 mil. Really, guys? Franz is making 200 million. Anobi's making 200 million. Come on, this is getting ridiculous, guys. Way too much money for guys that are not anywhere near that kind of money in terms of worth. I think players are asking for ownership with their contracts. Yeah, if I was an owner, I'd tell them, do me a favor. Here's the money that you're, going to get paid, and shut up. You're never going to get a piece of the ownership as long as I'm alive. I'm the owner. I'm the one that dropped 2 bills on this. You ain't getting shit. That's how I'd respond to that. OG is an elite defender, can defend 1 through 5. Issue for him is health. That's where the contract isn't worth it. Yeah, availability, baby. Probably the greatest ability, right? It's going to get worse. The second apron will be at 305 in 2028. Okay, so then that means it's likely that we're probably looking at when Wembanyama is a free agent or has a chance to extend, he'll probably be the first $400 million guy. Would that be accurate? He'll get a 5-year, $400 million contract, which would be, what was that? Would that be 80 million? Imagine $80 million for a basketball player. 80 million a year for an athlete. That is just mind-boggling to me. I can't let that one sink in. It's one thing to make 20 and 30 mil, but geez, $80 million. That's coming, folks. It is coming, and Victor's going to get that. He is going to be a 5-year, at least $400 million contract. Hell, we just saw a 10-year, $700 million contract that went to Ohtani. So it's not that far off, guys. And in the next 10 years, we're going to have our first billion-dollar contract. I don't know what sport, but it's going to be someone, whether it's going to be baseball, basketball, likely one of those sports. Those are the guys that are going to be making a bill. Imagine that, 10 years, a bill, making $100 million. Like if Ohtani had let's say Otani was drafted in 5 years to 2029. He would have been the first $1 billion player in sports. Who's going to come up after that? We're going to have to wait and see. I don't know who it's going to be. Well, the only chance of that happening in the NFL is quarterback. I don't think there's any position player other than quarterback that has any chance at making that kind of money. I bet you if it wasn't a hard cap, you'd probably have Patrick Mahomes getting that kind of money before his career is over. Not like his garbage franchise. He has won anything under his watch. Kurt, what are we talking about here? Charles that wasn't happy with TV money. Thinks richer teams suffer to help smaller markets. Yeah, that's the socialist way of how they do it, right? And I'm not against Mr. Dolan's assessment of that. And of course, him being a New York guy, the response to that is, of course you won't want that because you're number one market in the country. And of course you want to be able to outbid everybody. I'm like, well, the New York Knicks haven't won anything in 51 years. I wouldn't say so much that the market has really helped them. You still have to have good representation. You still have to have good executives that can run the team, executives that can acquire good players, draft good players, manage good players, get good coaches. The Knicks are finally doing that. And now you got to take all that money that you're making and then disperse it to those that not likely going to have any chance at winning. Teams like Charlotte, teams like New Orleans, teams like Memphis. No matter how good players they have, you can't really see those teams ever going over the hump, right? And now he's got to, subsidize those guys. But the NBA is good at subsidizing lower end type things, right? I mean, the whole point of the WNBA existing right now is the fact that the NBA has been fronting them money since 1996. I don't know if Caitlin Clark will change that. I don't think so. It might take a while before they can sustain their own business. I don't know if that's actually possible. I really don't. But I can't take a league seriously until you do. So, sorry, WNBA, until you can be on your own, you're not really a legitimate league. Remember, no politics. What are you talking about? When did I talk about politics, Darren? Sell if you don't like it. Oh, you're not talking to me. You're talking to Douglas. Sorry there, Darren. Kawhi makes Joe Biden look durable. I wouldn't say that's politics. That's just a funny joke. Guys, got to stop being so sensitive. Talk in Summer League has been about Brunson contract and how Sam Rose couldn't get a better contract out of his dad, Leon Rose. Jalen Brunson's deal, I think honestly it's a deal that if you want to be on a contender that you're going to have to make. I'm talking any number one, and Jalen Brunson is the number one in New York right now. If much like how Tom Brady took less to make sure that the team had enough money to get him players and help, this thing is a pseudo hard cap. So if you want to collect all the money, you'll have that choice. But if you collect all the money, that means you're not going to likely put together a team that's got enough depth or enough talent to contend year in and year out. So a lot of number one players are going to have to make a decision. Do you really want to strap your team to the point where you can't really contend because you're taking that super max or that max contract? Or do you want to take a little less and guarantee that you're going to be a perennial title team? That might be the only positive that could come out of this, that the number one guys are going to have to take a pay cut if they want to continue to win. I don't know if a lot of guys will do that. Joe, you think Brunson is a number one? He's 5'11" and a horrible defender. He's a number one in New York. He's a number one in New York. Whether he's a number one in LA, whether he's a number one in Milwaukee, whether he's a number one in Denver, no. I'd say AD's still number one or LeBron's number one if he were on those teams. Philadelphia, I say he's number 2 behind Embiid. So yeah, in New York, yes, not in or in Boston too, not in Philly, Boston, LA, or Denver. So good question. No, not a number 1 outside New York. Maybe Rick Brunson gets there. That's funny. They'd catch that, dude. Kurt, they'd catch that. I'm sure that's something they'd be able to monitor pretty quickly. I don't think they'd do that. Eligible for 400 mil in 2028. Yeah, I'd say that could happen. I mean, right now, Jason Tatum just got a $305 million contract. So I could see that number going up in 5 years to 400. Absolutely. Knicks fans are starved for anything. Yeah, it's been 51 years. The Knicks have had this persona that they are basketball royalty because they're in New York, because they play at Madison Square Garden. But in all honesty, it's kind of like the Toronto Maple Leafs. They haven't won in so long that their history and their aura has preceded their actual results. I mean, think about it. The Knicks have only made the finals since 1973 twice. One was a strike-shortened season where they had a last second shot in Series 1 against Miami and were able to catapult to the finals before they got beat by the San Antonio Spurs in 5. And then the infamous, Starks game in Game 6 against Houston in 94, where Starks just couldn't make a shot to save his life, and then they ended up losing in 7 to Houston in the Hakeem Olajuwon team. That's it, folks. That's it. They've had some good players too. They've had Bernard King. They've had Patrick Ewing. They had John Starks when he was at his best. Charles Oakley. They've had some good players. Allen Houston, Latrell Sprewell. They've had some good players, yet they haven't been able to really show anything in very, very little. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that they ran in. They got good at the worst time. If the Knicks had gotten really good, let's say in the, I don't know, maybe in the mid-2000s. Mid-2000s was like, Phoenix was sort of there. Spurs were winning in 05. Pistons won in 04. Miami kind of, with the help of the refs, I think Wade, kind of won that series against Dallas. So that 04, 06 era, you could have probably had some teams win some championships in that era, but unfortunately the Knicks had to be around in the 80s when Boston and the Lakers owned everything, and then of course Jordan in the 90s. So it's and they would have had no shot against Shaq and Kobe in the early 2000s either. Patrick Ewing failed. He failed, but he didn't. There's some information that came out recently that I read that Patrick Ewing wasn't the best teammate. It was always about him. It was always about what he was supposed to get. I don't know if that's true. Could be true, but at the same time, man, they had a couple series there where they could have taken the Bulls out, and it's just Michael Jordan just elevated himself and did what Jordan did. So it was what it was. And they, again, even when Jordan wasn't there, they managed to barely beat the Bulls without Jordan. And then they ended up getting to the finals only to blow a 3-2 lead and not win a championship at that time. Let's see here. What else we got? 94 was the Knicks' best shot. Yeah, 94 was definitely the Knicks' best shot. But the Knicks are the Knicks. I used to have this discussion. Sometimes I'd like to move players from different eras instead of discussing best player ever. What would you guys think? How different? Because you had it with Wilt and Russell, and you had it with Magic and Bird. See, Jordan never had a rival in the 90s. You could even say Dr. J and Kareem in the 70s. You could say, you can't really say anything in the 50s. I don't know. There wasn't really, maybe 50. Actually, you know what? I'm sorry. You know what? Bob Pettit, you could say in the 50s with George Mikan, right? So George Mikan, Bob Pettit. Bob Pettit won the championship in 1958 against the one loss that Bill Russell had. So you can put him in there. Then you had Wilt and Russell in the 60s. You had Dr. J and Kareem in the 70s. Magic and Bird in the 80s. In the 90s, imagine this. What if Kobe played during the Jordan era and he was on that Knicks team? How different would the results have been? Just remove John Starks and put Kobe Bryant in the two in that era. And you had the two best players in the NBA rival against each other, just like Bird and Magic, Kareem and Dr. J, Russell and Wilt. Imagine, I mean, it's pretty safe to say that Michael Jordan probably doesn't have 6 championships. I would take that to the bank. It's probably split during that decade. That would have been pretty nuts. Yeah, I agree, Jay. It was a random thought. I was talking to one of my boys, and I was like, "Hey, man, could you imagine if Kobe was Jordan's rival, like Magic and Bird? What would the results have been?" And that's something. If I go to heaven, that I'll ask God. I'm like, God, can you do me a favor? Can you put Kobe in the NBA when Jordan was when they were both in the prime, and let's see what the results would be? To me, that's what heaven would be, because I'd be doing that for eternity. Just going, all right, let's put Wilt against Shaq. We'll put Wilt on that Philadelphia team in 09. I'm sorry, in 01, and then let him play against Shaq in that finals and see what happens, right? Imagine 76ers with Barkley and 5-time All-Star Doherty. Traded that number 1 pick. Ooh, yeah, that's a good one, Brandon. That's something that's not discussed too much. A lot of those draft picks, man. A lot of those draft picks went that way. I mean, shoot, the Lakers won a championship in 1982, and they fleeced the Cavaliers for the first pick that year. So the Lakers won the championship in 1982 and had the first overall pick a month later, or not even a month later, like a few weeks later. Could you imagine that? And they picked up James Worthy, whom, in my opinion, they don't win at least a couple more championships without James. So that was a huge, just, I don't even know what to call that. I mean, you can call it highway robbery, you can call it freeway robbery, you can call it city robbery. That was just, I don't know if you'll ever see that again. Let's see here. You could replace John Starks with all out of guys. Brad Doherty. Brad played with Cleveland. Brad Doherty. Yes, Evan Gray. He's talking about Brad Doherty. I believe when the Cleveland Cavaliers selected Brad in the 86 draft, he was the first overall pick. I think that was, let me do some checking in there. Hold on 1 second. I believe they had been 1986 NBA draft. Let's see how this went. So where are we here? I'm gonna have to look. So the original pick, yeah. So the Cleveland Cavaliers got the draft pick from the Clippers via the 76ers. And then the Celtics that year got the second overall pick. Unfortunately, it was Len Bias, who ended up passing away, from Seattle. So, yeah. And then Cleveland again, Dallas Mavericks picked Roy Tarpley 7th overall. I heard Cleveland's owner at the time was very good at just giving away draft picks. He was not really knowing what the hell he was doing, didn't really care about running a team, and just, that's just kind of how the owners were at that time. Things are a lot different now. Cavs had some talent guys back. Yeah, so they had Brad Doherty, they had Larry Nance, and they had Mark Price. They took the Bulls in 92 to 6. 92 Bulls had to go through some stuff. They went through the Cavs, which I think the 92 Cavs was probably their second best team of all time, even better than the finals teams of 2017 and 2018. Definitely anything better than 07. And then you had, let's see here, what was it? So the 92 Cavs team was pretty good. Then you had the Knicks that year. The Knicks that year took the Bulls to 7. Bulls had to earn it in '92. They played some really good teams. Portland was really good. The Portland series, a lot of you don't remember. The Bulls were up 3-2, and they went into the fourth quarter in Game 6, down 15. Where have you heard that before in Portland, right? They were down 15, and I remember this vividly. Jordan sat the first 5-6 minutes of the fourth quarter, and Scottie Pippen and the crew ended up killing that lead, but I think it took it down to like 4 points. Jordan came in, and then they finished it off and ended up winning it. They were that close. If Portland could have just held on in Game 6 with that 15-point lead in the fourth quarter, they would have taken the Bulls to 7. And those games, you just never know what might happen. Which summer league team looks good? I think Warriors are undefeated, but I haven't been paying attention, but I have no idea who's really playing as their best right now. But that's a good question. I'll go ahead and look into that, and I'll talk to you about this on the next show. This is by far the worst summer league team I've seen the Lakers have in a long time. I'm sure there have been summer league teams from, the 90s through, let's say, when Lonzo Ball came, and that's when things really start getting exciting. I never watched summer league before, like I do now. I just didn't. It was one of those things where I just never even paid attention to it. I don't even know if they were televising it as readily available as they did the last like 7-8 years. But as far as the modern day summer league, yeah, this is by far the worst. I mean, these guys, everyone on this team except for Connect, doesn't belong in the NBA. Pods and Kuminga and like 3-4. You guys still trying to get players from Golden State? The shot, that buzzer beater Jordan had over Cavs, clutch move, cool moment. Nick should have never let Xavier McDaniel leave for free agency. He was punking Scottie Pippen. Yeah, he had that. He was going back and forth with Jordan too. There's a really good video clip of him and Jordan just face to face. They had nose to nose, just talking smack. The Bulls were not lesser than the Knicks, even though the Knicks took them to 7. They beat the Knicks pretty handedly in Game 7, but it was just one of those things where sometimes you can run into a team and they're a little more feisty than you thought, and they end up really pushing you to the brink. The closest the Bulls got to losing a series, though, during the Jordan full season era in the 90s, from 91 through 92, 93, and then 96 through 98, was probably the Indiana series in 1998. The Pacers were up late in the fourth quarter, and there was a jump ball. If you guys saw The Last Dance, I think they talked about that. They missed out on a jump ball tip, and then it went the Bulls' way, and I think they ended up hitting a 3 and totally changed the momentum of that game, and then they never recovered. But I don't know. Again, at the end of the day, okay, Indiana gets that jump ball, they miss a shot, then you're right back to where you were. But Jordan just had a knack, guys. That's what made him what he was. He had a knack, and it never mattered. He always won those games. And when he was fully healthy, fully prepared, in his prime, he just didn't lose those games. I'm getting Jake Paul ads from this channel. I don't know why, Jay. I really don't. I can't stand YouTube right now in terms of, I'm trying to watch the show sometimes when I'm not on the show, like when I have, and they're breaking commercials in the middle of speeches. Now, unless I'm on my computer where I have a ad deflector on YouTube, I can't. It's infuriating. I actually miss part of the show because they throw in this ad right when Gerald's talking or someone else is talking. Getting ads too disgusting. Douglas, okay then, no Laurie. Laurie is just never going to happen, folks. Laurie is never going to come to LA. You would have to sacrifice your children and probably 5 draft picks to get him. So there's no chance to get him. I don't see any reason why the Utah needs to make a deal right now. They'll get a team at some point that's really needing a center, whether it's because they got someone that got injured, where they'll drop some good coin to get him, but they have no reason to get rid of him until they have to. If you pay YouTube, they take away ads. Pay him what? You know how much money they've made off our ads? How much more do we want to make? How much do they want to make from my ass? Google is trash when it comes to that kind of stuff. Anytime I've tried to do any kind of advertisement, you can't get anybody on the phone. You got to send letters. You got to send emails that are 3 pages long. Nah, that's not good. I ain't got to do that. I ain't gonna waste any more time on that. The Knicks blew Game 5 at home when Grant, Pippen, MJ denied. Yeah, the '93 series was, man, they got those first 2 games in New York, and then some idiot decided to tell Jordan that he was having too much fun in Atlantic City. And that pissed him off. And that was a bad, bad, bad move. Should have just shut up, not pissed off Michael Jordan, and maybe you would have had a chance at beating that Bulls team. That might have been the best Knicks team, actually. Even better than the 94 team, even better than the 99 team. But again, guys, were they really that good? I mean, they got backdoor swept, whether it was because Charles Smith couldn't make a layup, or whether the Knicks were not good enough, or whether Jordan was great enough. It doesn't matter. At the end, it reads 4-6. There's plenty of teams that have been great, all-time great teams that have won series in 6. One is the Bulls in '96, right? They won the first 3 games of the finals against Seattle, ended up beating them in 6. And they won 72 games during the regular season and ended up winning 87 games total through the playoffs. And you can imagine that. Imagine winning 87 games in a season. That's just nuts. Laurie is on the last year of his deal. That's why I think you hold on if you're Danny Ainge. You don't need to trade him right now. You can wait till the deadline. If somebody really, really needs him or thinks he's a piece away, he'll get a lot of assets for that. And I would sit and wait until I get what I want. And then, of course, if he doesn't get what he wants, you can still trade him and get something. Warriors want Laurie for Moody and Wiggins and second-round pick Jones. Well, I think if the Warriors come out the gate and are, let's say the Warriors are sitting at 30-20 at the All-Star break before the deadline, do they make those second-round picks first-round picks and make Danny Ainge happy? I don't know. It's going to have to be that kind of deal. It's going to have to be that kind of deal. Danny Ainge doesn't want anyone's trash, but he will take trash if it means draft capital, and that's how that's going to have to work. It's not Joe, it's Chip. Yes, Chip will always be here, folks. He will always be here, and he will be here again. I don't know when, but we'll figure that one out. Ewing looks like a gorilla. That's not very nice. $7,000. I think that's quite mean, actually, even to my standards. Bulls won every finals in 6 games except the Lakers series. Yeah. And that's probably why the NBA loved them so much. That's why David Stern loved them so much. They not only won, but they extended the series almost to the brinks, right? So they made a lot of money. It wasn't like the Lakers sweeping the Nets or beating the Sixers in 5 or beating the Orlando Magic in 5. The Bulls and the Jordans, I call them, always seem to extend those series as much as they can and still win, which, I'm sure that any NBA executive, if you were to sit down and talk to them, they're always going to say, well, we want Michael Jordan to win, but we would love him to win in 7 so we can get every possible game in there. And Jordan gave him 6 most of the time, so I think they'll take that. Why Utah trading Laurie for Pods? I don't think the Warriors would trade Pods, not for Laurie. I don't think that's a smart move. I think Pods has some value. If anything, they would be doing themselves a disservice if they did that, because it's more of a lateral move in a lot of cases. The Warriors want to compete again, and to compete, they need both. So trading one for the other is almost like a lateral move. You're just getting better in another position and downgrading the other position, and that's how that's going to look. So with that, folks, I want to thank you all for being here tonight. Sorry for the communication issues. I'm going to tell Gerald to stop using the potato camera as well as his 56K modem. He needs to get with it. It's 2024, Gerald. Stop using the 56K modem and that. Remember that AOL modem sound? Love you too, Mark. But if you guys want to hit us up after the show here, or tonight, or in the morning, or whatever, please hit me up on Joe Soro LFB on X, or you can contact me at Instagram, Sinblades_turf. That's my Instagram, Sinblades_turf. Or if you want to reach me on Facebook, it's Johnny Blade with the Punisher logo on it. And until then, and of course, you can email us at LakersFastBreak@yahoo.com. And until next time, Chip, Joe, or Ox, we'll see you next time.